there's a lot that goes into building a business. I mean, 5 months full time, and I'm just like, wow. Like I understand why people don't make it in this business because it takes a lot of you have to be self-aware of who you
Mhm.
are. You have to know your strengths. You have to be willing to put in the work that's necessary to be a subject matter expert, to expand your capacity to learn more and to do more. You have to understand that you're in a service-based business. So
Yes.
you're helping people and you have to be there for them.
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another edition of the Tactical Empire. Today, I'm here with my man, Jonathan Welch, owner and founder of Alamo City Living, which is a real estate group. And I'm excited to dig into his process of starting his business. They're on the retail side. They're in San Antonio. And I've got some questions for you. Thanks for joining us today, Jonathan.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Sure. Absolutely. I was excited to get you in here and talk about your experience because you had quite a unique background. You came from the Navy and then went into the San Antonio PD, correct?
That's right, man. So I did about 9 years in the Navy. I did about 4 years in the Army Reserves. After I got out of the Navy, I had quite a break in service. I thought I missed the military, right? So I decided to give it another shot going into the Army Reserves. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm done for good. So I got out of that, but did 11 and a half years with the San Antonio Police Department until recently making the transition over into real estate.
So what attracted you to make that leap? Because it there's a handful of people I actually know that went from the police department to real estate investing or real estate in some capacity. So what was it that you were drawn to specifically?
Yeah, definitely. So you're right. A lot of officers find themselves doing real estate either part time while they're still on the department, or they decide to go in full time and leave police work like I did. I'm not sure what it is about real estate and policing. It's some sort of weird
You
attraction
guys
there,
just
but
know the shitty neighborhoods
that's
or the
right,
good
man.
ones. Good ones.
Yeah. No steering though. We can't steer, but yeah. So for me, man, there was a lot of different things. I was 11 and a half years, or at the time, 10 years in at the time when I decided to start doing real estate. And a lot was going on just in culture in the world within the department that kind of got the wheels turning into possibly doing something different.
Yeah,
Of course, a few years ago, we had a lot of the George Floyd effect going on around the country, a lot of riots and things
sure.
like that. And that kind of really what kind of sparked it for me. San Antonio wasn't really immune to that. So we had our own stuff going on downtown. And at the time I was working downtown, I mean, right there. So I was on the front lines of all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
I just was just so toxic. And I remember thinking, man, while I'm out here dealing with all of this, I could be home with my family, not dealing with all of this. And I started to ask myself, is there anything else that I can do or even want to do?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, there were other officers at the time, a couple who are very successful here in San Antonio as well, who have left the department. They were doing really well in real estate, and I had a conversation with several of them, and I thought, this might be something that I could do. So I jumped in part time and found a lot of success doing it part time. And so after about a year of doing it part time, myself and my business partner Trevor, he was also he was my partner on patrol there. He got his real estate license, and we had a really good working relationship on patrol, and we just kind of carried that into real estate. We found a lot of success, and we both decided to pull chocks and go in full time together.
Awesome. You didn't tell me that. That's cool. You guys were partners in the police force and then partners in this company. That's great. That is awesome. So what has been, so you've been doing full-time real estate now for about a year, right? Or 5 months, 6 months?
Full time, yeah, about 5 months, 5 or 6 months since October.
How are
So
things going?
things have been good. The success that we found doing it part time, it has just carried over and has just grown exponentially since we left, which we believed that it would, and it has. And so we're doing really well. 2023, one of the hardest years for real estate agents across the country. I think over 70,000 agents did not renew their license,
Yeah.
throughout 2023. So, and then we were, two who decided to leave our full-time jobs and go into real estate full-time. A lot of people thought we were crazy. We probably are a little bit, but we made it happen and we're doing pretty well.
I love it. I love to hear that though, because like it's resilience and like understanding that it takes work. I mean, the low barrier of entry in the real estate space gives it a bad rap.
Right.
I'm like licking my chops at the economic opportunity right now because the chasm is so huge between people that will do the work and people that won't do the work, and everyone is just making excuses for everything. Like
And-
there,
Yeah,
you
you're
can feel
absolutely
it.
right. You hit it right there. I mean, and that's really what it is there's a huge gap between people who are willing to make things happen and people who just sit around making excuses. And we knew that, we saw that, and we knew that if we were to go into real estate full time and we kept the same work ethic that we already had, man, we'd do well. I mean,
Yeah,
really, there really wouldn't be, and I don't say this in an arrogant way, but there really wouldn't be competition because there's just so many people out there that are just not willing to go the extra mile, and we are, and it's just part of what we do. So we knew we would do well.
sure, sure. Well, that's awesome. I love hearing that. I love your upward trajectory in just a short amount of time. Um, Tell me this. I'm fascinated by this. You're a father of four. So we're kindred spirits in that sense. But like, do you feel happy with the decision you've made? Because you came from 2 decades of service. I was in the Army, special operations and all that. So like that resonates with me because I think everybody gets out and their initial thought is like, okay, I'm gonna be a U.S. Marshal. I'm gonna be police department somewhere, SWAT somewhere, FBI. And like that's the natural inclination. But like, man, knowing my personality, I can't imagine 20 years of like service in that stamp. You have to feel like a free man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I do. I feel really, really free. I did feel a little bit of that identity crisis.
yeah,
It's this is just how I've always been. My entire adult life, I've been military and then police. So that's all
yeah,
I've known. And so in my kids, my oldest being 13, he's only known me as a police officer. So I did kind of struggle with, man, like, who am I going to be outside of a uniform? Like, that's going to be very, very weird.
sure.
But that didn't last very long, because you are who you are, whether you're wearing the uniform or not. That's what I have found.
Yeah.
And I'm the same person, same type A personality, same go-getter. Really nothing has changed, but I do feel very, very free. Those first few weeks of just like waking up, I had to get on a morning schedule, right? Because I've been working nights for like 20 years. I have only known a night shift. So that's been like very, very strange, but man, it is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm sure it's liberating to not deal with the bureaucracy. Because you now can take the like innate servant leadership that you have like embedded in you and apply it to your business. And the reason that that's so tremendous though is because now you don't have like the ceiling on you as far as an economic ceiling. You can essentially like eat what you kill, and the sky's the limit for like where you and your family are going from this point on. Like, so I mean, Whereas in the PD, if you want to make an extra $15,000, you pick up different shifts or whatever, stay 5 more years, or maybe go to certifications or qualifications. But like now, if you want to tell your wife, hey, I'm gonna make 500,000 next year, take home, like you can do it. And like, that's gotta be a whole different ball game as far as like allowing you to step out into that new identity of who you are.
Yeah, it really does. And you don't realize how limited your beliefs were until you move past that or you're outside of that. It's just unbelievable. You're right. When you're on the police department, and don't get me wrong, San Antonio Police Department, you make pretty good money, and you do have the ability to make a lot of extra income by working these side jobs. But at the same time, you're trading your time for money, and that's what I started to see at my age. I'm 44. I didn't want to keep doing that. I didn't want to keep picking up extra shifts, finding side jobs, to make that extra $3,000 or $4,000. And at the end of the day, there's still going to be like you said, a cap on what you can do, because you can only work so many hours, even extra hours, you know. So, but once you get out of that, man, when your mind opens up, you start putting yourself in rooms with other people who are high level people, very successful, and you realize that, wow, I was thinking way down here. My ability to do more is like incredible. Like the ceiling is just, there is no ceiling.
Sure.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. What has been the biggest kind of unknown that you didn't expect? I mean, you've been in business 5 months. Like, I mean, to be fair, I really don't think you've been in business 17 months, let's say, and like, so you've learned some lessons. I guarantee you got some bad things happened when you were part time. Like, you learned some lessons for sure. So what's the biggest obstacle you've had since you hopped into it though, full time?
Man, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say everything has been easy. I think probably the biggest obstacle is you have a lot of ideas on how you want to grow and scale. And you have to understand that you can't do everything overnight, So you kind of have to have an ops plan. You have to look at your year and kind of plan things out 3 months, 6 months, 9 and 12 and beyond, and understand, okay, these are my immediate goals, these are my mid-range, and these are some of my long-range goals. And I think that's probably been the hardest part, is just there's some things that are kind of shiny over here and you want to go for it, and they're not necessarily bad, but I can't do that right now. I just, that's a really good goal to have. That's something that I want to accomplish, but I just kind of need to continue building what I'm building here, and I'll get there. So that's probably the hardest part. I think you can easily get sidetracked. And that could be, I think that could be a detriment to your business when all these things look great, but you can't do them all at the same time.
Man, that's a super mature approach to business though. And most people don't pick up skills like, because it really, business is just foundational, like blocking and tackling and fundamentals. And you have to build your foundation on those fundamentals. And it's really hard not to get distracted by the shiny objects, or like throwing fucking $10,000 a month ad spend and doing external marketing that you think will fill your funnel, but really, like, you guys don't have enough organic yet, or something like that. And so, like, what you just laid out is that's a mature game plan.
Yeah, and these are some of the things that you learn, just being in the military and being in law enforcement. You can't jump into things right away, everything right away. You have to, you have to build that foundation. It's just like, with firearms, you can't just, get out there and, you have to build the foundations, man. You're just doing dry reps forever, just getting the repetitions in before you even start, putting live rounds down range. So it's the same with business. You've got to be a student of your craft. You have to be an expert at what you do. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to build out systems and processes that, are going to be sustainable. And, before you start jumping into all these other things, or your business is just going to crash. And then another big thing is going to be client experience. If you start trying to tackle too many things at once, then your client experience is going to be really piss poor, and and you're never going to grow. You're going to sink right where you're at.
Well, I mean, real estate, kind of above most industries, is really like a word of mouth business. So like if you guys take care of your clients, it could be worth 5 more clients easily. And so like
Absolutely.
you don't need to get caught up in all this external stuff, because
Yeah.
your bread and butter is right in front of you on a daily basis. And
Right.
so that's really, really smart. So tell me this: you and your partner, two fairly tactical guys with a background. Um, what are your roles in the company?
So he and I both run Alamo City Living Team together. We do everything 50-50. We lead generation. We our clients who we attract and who we start working with. We'll just split those tasks up. So one client comes in, we'll kind of we usually meet them, speak with them. We'll see kind of who's going to be a better fit for them. Me being military, Trevor was not military, so clients who are coming in utilizing maybe the VA, or they have questions about their VA home loan benefit, I might be a better fit for them. And so we'll just kind of split up who's going to work with that client predominantly. Both of us can do the work for any client, but we will kind of have predominant roles for each client. But with everything else, it's all 50-50.
Gotcha. Even with the roles and everything else, you guys are you've got your hand in all the different things.
Yeah. So we do right now, our marketing is predominantly through YouTube. So we do lead generation through YouTube. When it comes to the videos, we both do the videos together. He has a bigger role when it comes to like the editing, SEO optimization, and all that stuff. That's something that I was doing by myself at first. And then when he came on board and we kind of rebranded Alamo City Living and started working together, I kind of handed that over to him. That's something that he's just really talented at and good at. And then that allows me to kind of start working on other things.
Yeah, of course. What's the plan for the future? What's the 3-year goal, 5-year goal for Alamo City?
Man, we're still kind of working on that. We want to grow and scale. That's obviously what every business wants to do. So right now, just trying to figure out what that looks like. Social media right now is social media is everything when it comes to growing a business. You can't really do it, I don't believe, without social media today. And so trying to understand how social media is going to fit into our business through the different platforms, because every platform is used differently, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or even YouTube, which is technically a social platform, but it's really a search engine.
Sure.
But just trying to figure out and understand how we're going to use those different platforms. One, for our business brand, and then 2, for our individual brands, as we decide to maybe do other things or work with clients maybe outside of real estate. So right now, that's kind of what we're working on. We've actually grown so much so fast. The immediate future is hiring another agent to help us with our work. So that's what we're currently dealing with.
That was going to be my next question. Are you guys looking for agents? Do you guys specialize in being listing agents or buyer's agents, or are you focused on one side of the transaction, or what?
So we have actually increased our listings a ton. That's just through our sphere. However, we attract buyer's agents. So through YouTube, we predominantly market to out-of-state buyers. So what I found at the beginning, there are thousands of real estate agents in your area, a ton, right? And everybody knows an agent. So trying to, one of the things I did not want to do was farm my neighborhood and spend a ton of money doing that sort of thing. There's a lot of competition, I believe, in that with the local real estate agent trying to find local business. But when you're attracting out-of-state clients, you're not competing with other real estate agents per se, because they don't know anybody in Texas or in San Antonio where they're trying to move. They don't know you. They don't know the difference between me and Dayton Schrader, who's killing it right? They don't know the difference. They don't know him. They don't know me. And so if I'm able to put out content that is answering the question that they're asking, and they're able to see my personality, they're able to then verify me on other platforms like Instagram or Facebook and see that I am a real person. I'm a family man and this, that, and the other. Then I'm already building the know, like, and trust, and I don't have to compete with anybody else. And by the time they call me, they already want to work with me. I found that to be a lot easier than trying to attract the local client here in San Antonio. But a byproduct of growing my influence through social media, you also attract local
Sure.
clientele as well. So that's been pretty cool.
When did you start building your brand, your personal brand?
Right away. So I knew that when I first got licensed, I already knew I wanted to do YouTube. I hooked up with some guys who were already doing YouTube and real estate out of state. When I joined my brokerage, I kind of went in their downline, and they provide a lot of coaching and courses and training. And so I just kind of got plugged into that ecosystem, and I've just been doing that from the very beginning.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I think it's literally the most important thing, honestly.
Yeah.
Because right now in the world that we live in, being so connected to everything, it is the way, it's your resume, essentially. Like, I raise capital and do a bunch of investments, and it's so important. It's so important to establishing your credibility and like allowing people to kind of stalk you, for lack of a better term, and
Yeah.
like see if
Yeah.
they would enjoy like working with you, if you will.
Right.
And so that's tremendous that you guys are doing that. So how many agents do you have working for you guys right now?
Right now is just myself and Trevor. My
Okay.
wife is a licensed agent, so she's able to do some of the things that are required of a real estate agent. But she predominantly handles our transactions from contract to close. We have a website. She will write blogs for our website. She handles our newsletter, sends that out to our CRM. And but Trevor and I are handling all transactions right now. Right now, we're looking to bring on another agent. There is one that we will be bringing on over the next week or two, and she'll be really able to help us out a lot when it comes to just the load, so we can kind of expand some of the other things that we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys specialize in a certain area of San Antonio, or are you working the whole metro area?
Man, it's funny. So I think when we started out, it's the whole metro area. You want to sell to anybody who wants to move anywhere,
Yeah.
within your service area. But you quickly find that, San Antonio is massive. And although you can learn a lot about the whole metro area, to be a real subject matter expert, you really have to kind of, hard focus on specific areas. So we've really started to really hard focus on the far west side, north central, and north a little bit. Not too much on the south, or southeast or east. We don't get a lot of clientele who are looking to move through those areas from out of state. So we've just really found ourselves selling a lot of homes on that northwest, far west, north central area.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Like, do you think that what's the hardest lesson you've learned personally? You talked about the morning schedule and having to get on a different routine. What's the hardest thing for you making the transition from being a police officer into being your own boss?
Oh, wow. I really don't think it has been that difficult. If anything, I feel like it's been a lot easier. When you're a police officer, you get dispatched to a call and you have to go to the call. You can read the call notes and it looks like a crappy call, but you can't say, "Hey man, I don't want to take that one." You show up, right? And you do your job. When you're your own boss, you can take whatever call you want. And so I found that to be a lot easier. I remember one of it put a big smile on my face. I remember talking to my wife. I got a call from someone who was looking to move to San Antonio. We jumped on a Zoom call. We had a great buyer's consultation. And this particular person was extremely difficult right off the bat. I could just tell this is going to be a headache of a person to deal with. And I remember telling that person, I don't think I'm going to be the best fit for you. Like I think that you're going to be better off working with somebody else. And after that call, it felt so great to be able to do that and not have to worry about, a complaint. Someone, yeah, this officer didn't want to work for me, or didn't, left or whatever, but I'm my own boss. So that feels great to attract the people who are, who want to work with me. And I don't have to work with people who I feel like are going to be just a pain in the ass.
I love it, man. Again, wise beyond your years of business for sure. Like that, most people are chasing money in the first year for sure. Like they're like, oh, this commission could be $3,500. I'm not going to tell anybody no. Like, you know what I mean? And so like, that's powerful. I think it's probably because you're a father of four, that you've got a little more head on your shoulders as far as emotional maturity. You're like, I don't need this.
Yeah. I mean, man, I've been married 16 years, man. Like, come on. I don't need no more of this.
I like it, man. So where, again, like I'm gonna go back to the question I asked about where you guys are going. I know you're gonna hire some agents, but like, where would you like to see this thing go? Like master vision style, like 1,000-yard view. Where do you want it to be in 3 to 5?
I think a lot of agents, including myself, would like to see at some point to be out of production. At 44 years old, you don't want to be driving around forever showing people houses. Homes are beautiful and all, but I mean, come on. So at some point, I think being out of production would be great. Having, a team of agents that I can train, that I can pour into, that can, take the reins and do the day-to-day, the closings. I think what we have found to be very enjoyable is lead generation. I love content creation, so creating content, answering questions that people are asking about San Antonio, or even asking questions about transitioning from military law enforcement into entrepreneurship. I mean, I went from step A to step B. I'm not an expert at it, but even being able to just share what that little bit of wisdom that I have so far is great. So seeing myself doing things like that, I think I speak for Trevor when I say that as well, because he's very much into that as well. So I think both of us would like to take a step back from production at some point, sooner rather than later, and work on, just helping other entrepreneurs, police officers make a transition as well.
Sure. That's tremendous. Do you, I guess what as you guys transition from that role of police officer to entrepreneur, and like you've now got to build a culture. So like, are you looking when you're talking about slotting in teammates, are you mining the police department? Are you looking for your next people out of there? Is that who you guys are going to build out of your cult? Is that how you're going to build out your culture?
Possibly. One of the things though is when it comes to being an entrepreneur, whether you're coming from the military or law enforcement or you're a school teacher, there's a level of grit, I think, that it takes. And it's not for everybody. Whether you did 15 years on the police department or 20 years in the military, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Sure. And one of the things that I don't want to do is I don't want to be a supervisor of people. If I'm going to work with people, or if I'm going to bring people onto the team, I want them to be self-starters and, people like I am, who are just able to get it done. Figure things out. Of course, providing the training and resources and things like that are going to be very important, but I'm not trying to hold hands. So of course, I want to help out my brothers in blue, and those who want help, I'm going to do that, but I won't necessarily just limit who I look for in that space. It'll be
Sure.
anyone who I vibe with.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's super important. I mean, you guys have a really cool, unique opportunity because you're building it kind of from the ground up right now, and you're still real
Yeah.
new as far as it goes, and you have like a blank slate as far as culture goes. Like you can build whatever culture you want, right? If you want self starters, then you slot them in. But I totally agree with you. I share the sentiment of not being a manager of people, as far as like you don't want people that are needing micromanaged, especially in the industry that you're in, because it
Hmm.
is a self-starter industry. It is an industry of like, I mean, you're going to have people on your staff, if they're unwilling to have those qualities or those features of their personality, they're not going to eat. Like they just won't get it done. Even if you guys feed them leads, like they're not necessarily going to have like tremendous years. And so when you talk about 70,000 agents leaving the industry, the majority of that was like idle licenses hanging around that people just didn't want to pursue it as a profession.
Right. And, I think, real estate can be very lucrative, especially in the last few years where, it seems like, I mean, anyone could get a deal, and so you had a lot of people coming in, thinking, man, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to make all this money. But if you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. But if you treat it like a hobby, which most people do, that's
Yep.
how it's going to pay you. It won't pay you, And so there's a lot that goes into building a business. I mean, 5 months full time, and I'm just like, wow. Like I understand why people don't make it in in this business because it takes a lot of you have to be self-aware of who you
Mhm.
are. You have to know your strengths. You have to be willing to put in the work that's necessary to be a subject matter expert, to expand your capacity to learn more and to do more. You have to understand that you're in a service-based business, so
Yes.
you're helping people, and you have to be there for them. You have to be there for them, and sometimes people can be pretty needy, and that can be, a little bit stressful. But there's a lot that goes into building a business, man, and there's a ton that goes into real estate, and most people just are not, they don't understand that. They just want the money. They just want to make fast cash. But if that's your mindset going in, you're not going to make it. I mean, like you said, 70,000 agents, proof is in the pudding, man.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that more than anything. I mean, I think the most brilliant thing you guys are doing is growing your personal brands and like getting the YouTube channel going. I think that's so smart, because like you're going to build that know, like, and trust factor exponentially by educating. And so, like, I mean, you just educate about pockets of town. Like, this is where you should live. These are the restaurants around here. It's walking distance or it's walkable, blah, blah, blah. And like, the ability for someone to plug into you guys and you guys be the subject matter experts of San Antonio and like where to move if you're coming from out of state, like that's brilliant, and you're niching real hard. So there's opportunities with partnerships and things like that with like U-Haul and self-storage and other places like that that
Yeah.
cater to that same demographic. I mean, my brain is just going on how you would continue to drive that niche into a corner very nicely, and like you become the go-to person or people for anyone that's migrating to San Antonio, and that's super easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's super smart, and that's really brilliant of you guys. So
And the
kudos to you.
beauty, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. And the beauty behind YouTube is that because it's a search engine, owned by Google, you build a library of content that's evergreen. And
Yeah,
so, you start off kind of slow. You've got one or two videos up. People might find it. They may not call you. They don't really know who you are. But as you build that library, you're right. You build that know, like, and trust. And we're getting calls now from people who, hey, we've watched, your last 15 videos. I've been watching you since last year, and we're finally able to move to San Antonio. This content is evergreen content, and you're literally generating leads. You're literally prospecting while you're sleeping at night. You're
Yeah.
waking up in the morning with emails and voicemails from people who want to jump on a call with you to get some representation. It's unbelievable.
Sure. I love it. I love it, man. Well, congratulations on everything. Like, I mean, your trajectory in a short amount of time is very impressive. So congrats, man. Kudos. Where can people find you, Jonathan?
So they can find us on YouTube, of course. Alamo City Living is our YouTube channel name. You can also find me on Instagram, Jonathan_Welch. Also on Facebook, Jonathan Welch. You can find my business partner as well, Trevor Yonitz, on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Awesome, man. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys do. I'm going to go check out your YouTube channel, and I will subscribe and like some videos for sure. And
Awesome.
but man, let me know if I can ever help you guys or be of assistance with anything. I'm in Houston, so obviously just down the road. But I am impressed with what you guys have done in a very short amount of time. So keep it up, and the sky's the limit. You guys are going to change your lives in a very short amount of time.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.